The Toddcast podcast on toddhancock.ca.
Yo, what up? This is D.
What's going on, D? Thanks for calling, man. I really appreciate your time.
What's happening?
Of course, as you might imagine, when I mentioned that I was having a founding member of Run DMC come on as a guest, I have a bunch of fan questions and stuff. We'll get to those in just a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, whatever you need.
Yeah, bro. But so I kind of wanted just to start off, like, literally at the beginning, and I mean the beginning, before Run DMC, you know, back to when you were just a little kid.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious, like, what was the vibe and what was the music like in your house as a kid growing up? What bands and stuff were your parents playing and exposing?
My parents was listening to everybody like Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, and Al Green. And but I didn't care nothing about soul music when I was little. I was from I would say kindergarten to like 7th grade. It was all, soul music, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, the OJs. My brother was 3 years older than me, so he got into Parliament Funkadelic and Earth, Wind & Fire. And, in elementary school, all the kids in my neighborhood, all the black kids in Hollis, they were in the Jackson 5. It was nothing but... It was Jackson 5 and Ride On magazine, but me as a kid, I cared nothing about that because in New York City, late 60s, 70s radio, there was a station called 77 WABC. And one of the jocks on there was this guy named Dan Ingram, and it wasn't about till 7 years ago when somebody told me exactly what the little promo that they would run all the time. As a little kid, I would listen to the station 77 WABC, and I would continually hear, and I thought it was an instrument, but it was actually some singers going, Dan Ingram. So 70s radio as a kid was beautiful to me because they played Al Green, Sly and the Family Stone, and James Brown, and the Jackson 5. But on them same stations, they also played Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Stones and Janis Joplin and Bob Dylan and the Doobie Brothers and Procol Harum and Elton John and who else is coming up? Rod Stewart. So for me as a kid, when I was sitting there playing with my G.I. Joes and my Hot Wheels and my little Evel Knievel stuff, my little Evel Knievel dolls and my Army Men, the thing that would make me stop and listen was always folk rock and classic rock. And that was the music scene when I was growing up, from late 60s all throughout the 70s until hip-hop came over the bridge in 76 to change the lives of all the young people in my neighborhood. But, my parents and them, they were strictly Aretha Franklin, Al Green, and Marvin Gaye. And all of those hits, those soul hits of the 60s and 70s, that's what my parents was listening to.
You're mentioning rap and hip-hop in like the mid to late 70s and stuff.
Yeah, that came like 70, the block parties and stuff in Queens. Hip-hop started to hit around, when I was noticing it, I think I probably was maybe 11 or 12 years old. Mm-hmm. When but I didn't care nothing about hip hop either. I was a kid. I was into my comic books and Bruce Lee movies. That's all it was. But when I remember my skateboard years and my bike years, still playing manhunt and running the streets doing kid stuff. When I started noticing the block parties and the park parties, it was probably like 77, 78. But I still wasn't into it because. It wasn't, and even when Rappers Delight came out, it was like big deal. I got my comic books. I only learned Rappers. I was a good student growing up, so I only learned Rappers Delight in like 1 hour, so that I wouldn't be the only kid in the room that didn't know it, because that was the thing. Everybody was into that, and the only thing that attracted me to Rappers Delight was Big Bang Hank's rhyme, because he was talking about Superman. So that was the only attraction to Rappers Delight, but that was the thing that made me notice that there's this rap. It wasn't even rap. It was an MC and DJ thing. It was MC and DJing, graffiti and breakdancing. but I still wasn't. I hadn't been infected with the hip hop bug yet.
And so, what was that light bulb? What went off? Like, how did Run DMC get together?
The light bulb. I first heard a rapper rap 77, and then in 78, I noticed all the older kids. You know, I'm 11, 12 years old, but all the kids like between 12 and 21. They was trying to be these DJs. You know, they was being DJs and stuff like that. But what had happened to me was Rappers Alike comes out. And it just takes over everybody's existence. Yo, did you hear this record? This and that, boom, bang. So me and my brother Alfred, Booby, and Anthony, those were they were older than me. They were the kids that was older than us. Mm-hmm. So Anthony got turntables first. Then Booby got turntables. But me and Alfred, we had a problem because we didn't sell weed, so we had no money. But we had a huge comic book collection. So my brother Alfred was like, yo, we're going to do a comic book sale just to get a couple of $100 so we could buy 2 turntables. No, we already had the turntables. We had my mother's hi-fi system. We had the we had the receiver, the amplifier, and the turntable, 2 speakers. So we needed another turntable and a mixer. So we sold enough comic books to get the turntable and the mixer. That being said, that's when my brother brings home Rappers Delight. So everybody's flipping out over this Rappers Delight record, whatever. And I'm like, oh, shoot, that's the thing that they was doing in the park all these years. But I cared nothing about it. But since I was a straight-A student, I listened to the record 2 or 3 times, and I had the whole record down pat. But the thing that made me want to participate and do the hip-hop thing myself, not on a showbiz level, because when hip-hop first came around, everybody wanted to do it because you just wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, you go to a Bruce Lee movie, you come out the movie, the first thing you and your friends is doing, you're doing every scene from the Bruce Lee movie. Right. So it was all pretend and make-believe. But right before Rappers Delight came out, I had heard a tape of this guy called Grandmaster Flash doing the quick mix with Good Times. And he took Good Times and it said, good times, boom, 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 good times, boom, 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 good times, good times, good times. So I'm like, how the hell is he doing it good? Then he shortened the good times. He started going, good, 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 good. So I'm trying to figure out how he's doing it. That was the thing that made me want to be a DJ along, like my brother. That made me want to be a DJ like Alfred, Booby, and Anthony, who were trying to be like this guy, Grandmaster Flash. Mm-hmm. But the thing that totally changed my life was my brother brings Rappers Delight home. And then about 2-3 weeks later, he brings home this red-labeled record, because the Sugar Hill label record was light blue and had the rainbow. It's very colorful. One day, my brother brings home this red label, giant 12-inch, 33-inch record, and it said Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 MCs. And I was like, oh, that's that Grandmaster Flash dude that I heard on that tape doing a Good Times thing. But when I put this record on, it wasn't like the Rappers Delight, hip-hop, the hip-hip. This thing came on. It was a party night. Everybody was breaking. The house was screaming and the bass was shaking, and it won't be long till everybody's knowing that Flash is on the B-box going. And did doom 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 and did sha-na-na. And then these 5 voices said Italian, Caucasian, Japanese, Spanish, Indian, Negro, Vietnamese, MC, disc jockeys, y'all. Fly kids for the young ladies. Introducing the crew, you gotta see to believe. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 MCs. I'm Melly Mel, and I rock it so well. And then this other voice said, and I'm Mr. Ness because I rock the best. And then this other voice said, Raheem, and all the ladies' dreams. And then this other dude said, Cowboy, and I make it jump for joy. And then another dude said, Creole, and then the other 4 guys said, Solid Gold. And then Creole said, Creole, and they said, Play in a row. Then Gibson, Melly Mel said, we're the Furious 5 plus Grandmaster Flash, giving you a blast and show enough class. So to prove to you all that was second to none, we're going to make 5 MCs sound like one. I was like, what the? I immediately picked up a pad and just started writing rhymes. I'm Easy D. And then I like the ice cream. I just, whoa, because the way they did it, Rappers Delight was cool, but this was something else.
Right.
And I just started writing rhymes for me. I'm Easy D. I'm Daryl, and it's easy for me to rhyme because they taught me something. Like, the rappers are like with stories, which was captivating to me. And, you know, the Big Bang Hank rhyme was written by this rapper called Grandmaster Cash, who I would discover later. And, you know, the Rappers Alike was all right, but I only like the Grandmaster Cash rhyme. I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the rest is FLY, and I go by the code. There was just something about that second rhyme. But later I found out Grandmaster Cash came from the same place that Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 came from. But it was the Furious 5 super rapping that made me say, oh, give me a pen. I got to talk about me. I didn't have to tell a make-believe story. I could talk about me. I'm great and I'm smart and I like ice cream and I go to school and I'm a Catholic school kid and this and that and I wear glasses. I can see. It taught me something different about the presentation it wasn't even hip hop. It was the MC DJ thing. I want to be like those dudes. I don't want to be like Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill's corny. I want to be like the Furious 5, and that was the thing that made me start writing rhymes.
What do you remember about the first time that you took the stage?
I was scared to death. The first time I took the stage was an after work club in New York City. And Russell, Run's brother, was trying to promote us, because remember, there was no videos, there was no album covers. Mm-hmm. So our first record, Suck 'Em Seas, It's Like That, Suck 'Em Seas was out, but nobody knew who we were. So Russ was trying to put a face with the voices. So he would have us play after work. In Manhattan, we was playing, you know, when Wall Street get off, when Time magazine get off, when all the big business corporations would get off, they would go to these after work places from, like, I would say 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at night. So Russell had us playing there. And I remember I was scared to death because I never wanted to be in showbiz. Hip-hop to me was just another artistic expression. The same way I would sit there and take my markers and my pens and pencils and draw all the superheroes I love. Hip-hop was just, oh, shoot, you could tell stories over music. So hip-hop for me was playtime. You know, when I made the record with Run just put me in the group because he was like, this dude is smart. I was a straight-A student. And I always tell kids this. There's something in you that will be utilized for something that will allow you to impact people's lives, that will not just change your life, but it will touch other people's lives and possibly change the world. Run had a big dream of being Grandmaster Flash and Sugar Hill and Curtis Blow. Me, it wasn't a dream for me because it was just make-believe. This hip-hop thing is pretend. I do this in my basement when nobody's looking, and all the rhymes and all the DJing that I do is just for me. I'm not getting up on stage and doing it in front of y'all. So the first time I hit the stage, I was scared to death. But the thing that would give me confidence was I was just make-believing that I was pretending. I'm the most powerful MC in the hip-hop universe. So for me, all my rhymes and my presence and my delivery and the words that I was used was just me make-believing I was the most dynamic force that would touch a microphone. I had no idea it was going to come true, so I had to go back to my fantasy and my make-believe and pretend to give me the confidence to transform from mild-mannered Catholic school kid Daryl McDaniels. I transform into the mighty king of rock. But that didn't happen until after my first show because I was like, oh, shoot. I didn't know that when you get a hit record, you got to go do it for people. I think you make a hit record and they play it on. Remember, rap hip-hop wasn't on the radio 24 hours. Right. My thing was you make a rap song and they'll play it Friday and Saturday night on a rap show and you arrived. It wasn't about getting money and this and that. As long as Friday and Saturday night when they play, if I could get played after Flash and Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation and Curtis Blow and the Treacherous 3 and the Fearless 4 and all the Funky 4+1 and all the early old school rap jewels, if they play my record on a Saturday night, it's done. You know, when I'm 50, 60 years old, I'll be able to tell my kids, hey, I had a hit record one summer, you know. Mm-hmm. I never knew it was going to be that. So I had to go back to the thing that was my favorite thing to do to allow me to be so dominant and give me confidence.
What comics were you reading?
It was Marvel. DC was cool. Batman, Superman, Justice League, The Flash was dope. But Marvel was brilliant because Stan Lee was a genius because he had the superheroes running around New York City. So every time I opened up a Marvel comic book, I saw a real life place that existed, and it also gave me a geography lesson, a history lesson. You know, when I open up Marvel Comics, I'm seeing the Lower East Side. I'm seeing Hell's Kitchen. I'm seeing Harlem and Times Square, and I'm seeing Central Park, and I'm seeing the Empire State Building, and I'm seeing the Brooklyn Bridge. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man lived in Queens. I live in Queens. So Marvel wasn't fake to me. It was real. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I could relate to Marvel comic books because Stan Lee had these superheroes in the existing world that I was in.
Right.
So Marvel was a huge, huge, huge inspiration on me.
And what superpower would you want to have?
If I had to have a superpower, it'd probably be super strength like the Hulk. Because the Hulk is so powerful, the other superheroes kick them off the earth. Like a lot of people say invisible, X-ray vision. No, superpower, because that means nothing in any universe can touch you. But it's also a blessing and a curse. But, you know, in my comic book, which I started 3 years ago, all my superpowers are supernatural, spiritual, and tech. You know, I combine all the things because you could have one superpower, but you're going to be still lacking in another area. So you're going to need some areas of technology to help you. Like when I go out and fight in my comic book in the DMC universe, you know, martial arts, my mind-body relationship is very in tune from, you know, taking martial arts and, you know, the whole belief system and the whole thing of everything necessary for you to succeed, whether it's in life, physical, mentally, spiritually, you have. So these are things that I develop as I go along and I'm living my life. But if I had to have a super strength, breathe underwater, invisibility, walk through water, I would want the strength of Hulk. But all of that in itself is a blessing and a curse.
And what are you thinking? We'll stay on the comic books. I'm a comic book geek myself as well. What are you thinking of all these like Deadpool and Suicide Squad and, you know, the Thor, Ragnarok and all that? Are you watching all those movies? And
yeah,
so,
of course. But they don't impress real geeks because we don't need Hollywood to come and jump on the damn bandwagon now. That's why they better get it right because us geeks and nerds are very, very serious about our culture.
Absolutely.
What I mean by that, I'm not impressed by that because I've been reading comic books since the 60s. So everything people who aren't comic book fans, you know, they're going for the special effects and this and that. I didn't need that because I had my mind. I had the actual thing I could hold in my hand. You know, the comic books, when you hold it, it was a three-sensory experience: touch, feel, color, reading. It was language. It was imagination. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm impressed with the Marvel movies. I'm just waiting for DC to get it right on that level. You know what I'm saying? I heard Wonder Woman was great, so I got to go see Wonder Woman. Everybody that I asked about Batman and Superman and you know, the Man of Steel, the first one, they go, it was all right. But people love the Marvel, the Iron Man and the Avengers and Captain America, Winter Soldier, and the Marvel is doing it right because it's a comic book. You know, I think DC is trying to make it a little too real. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's very adventurous. I'm watching all of that. Deadpool was phenomenal. I heard Deadpool number 2 is going to be off the hooks, but that being said, if you were the guy growing up reading in comic books, you're not impressed by what Hollywood is doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of us is pissed off. Hollywood is trying to take over so much of the San Diego Comic-Con. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Comic-Cons start to fall off when they forget about Artist Alley, when they forget about the physical books. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We don't need these movie studios to come in and take over from the art and the creators and the writers and the pencilers and the anchors and the originators of these stories. We don't want that to get lost with the Hollywood bullshit. So, you know, I'm impressed. I just saw Logan. It was crazy. I almost cried when Logan died and everything. So, you know, the movies are cool, but I've been reading comic books since I was in kindergarten, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
You know, I'm not
Same.
impressed by it. I mean, if they're doing it right and it's coming across, cool. But I always got the book. The book, my Captain America issues is phenomenal. It's instilled in my DNA now.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
No kidding. I'm curious, what was your first concert?
My first concert? Our first actual book concert was me and Run at the Disco Fever. That was our first concert, and Jam Master Jay missed the show because he was too busy shopping on Jamaica Avenue because he wanted to be so fly at the show. So we actually had another DJ Starchild from the Bronx. He had the DJ for us. Me and Run, we only had 2 records. It's Like That, Circumcised. So our first official concert with us billed as Run DMC was at the Disco Fever, which is one of the most famous, infamous clubs in hip-hop history. And then after that, we did a show. Our first out-of-state show was for a radio station. I forget what station it was, but it was in North Carolina. And we went out there, and when we put on It's Like That, Circumcised, I say about, I would say maybe 2,000, 3,000 people went totally crazy.
Wow.
Because remember, when we first came out, there was no album. We didn't have an album yet, and there was no video, so nobody knew who Run DMC was. And then right after that, when we started doing real concerts, because It's Like That became a national hit, Circumcised was in the streets of every state in America. It's Like That was damn near on every radio station in America, along with Circumcised, but It's Like That was more of our commercial hit record across the board. So we started opening for Parliament Funkadelic, Marvin Gaye, who else did we play shows with? ZZ Top, Confunction, the Gap Band. When we first dropped, 84, 85, we was opening for all of Cameo and all the funny joke is we started opening for all the soul and funk acts that our mothers and fathers were listening to. Mm-hmm. Because It's Like That was taking us everywhere where Grandmaster Flash is the message that took us. Our first concerts was, work in progress. And, it was never like we rehearsed the show. We just went on stage and did our records. And every night since 1983, when we first started doing shows, everything that was improvised was added to the show, which later developed into the show, the live show that Run DMC and Jam Master Jay was known for doing. Mm-hmm. Like, we never had choreographers, we never had writers. Everything was self-produced. And that was the beauty of hip-hop, you know what I'm saying? I never thought hip-hop would get to this stage. Now, nothing wrong with her, but I never thought hip-hop would have ghostwriters and stylists. I'm like, you got a stylist? Hold on. Before you go on stage, you go in a room and you have people select shit for you to wear. Like, it's ridiculous, but I got to understand the reason why that has happened because hip-hop crossed over and became a show business entity. But hip-hop was better when we was in showbiz, not doing any of the showbiz crap. But understandably, anything that is anything that is a cultural phenomenon, once it becomes commercialized, will be diluted, polluted, and destroyed. That's why Hollywood better not mess up my comic book culture. Hollywood has messed up hip-hop because now, instead of us bringing innovative, creative stuff that was never seen, thought of, and heard before, we follow trends. The record that I made that nobody never heard, it's not a radio record. Now, because it becomes a hit, I don't want you to create, you need to create a record for the radio, or you need a record that's going to chart, or you're going to need a record that's going to sell. No, it's not about selling, charting, and getting on the radio. It's about making some music that's going to captivate the people that hears it, with or without radio, with or without TV play, with or without a video. I can do that for the rest of my life. You don't have to play me on MTV. You ain't got to play me on a hot station. I'll set up turntables and speakers in the park and put on a show, and you can come see me for free every week. But once a culture, a creative entity, a creative piece of a culture becomes commercialized, then comes rules and regulations and powers that be that want to control it to act like they had something to do with it in the first place. So Run DMC, we were so outstanding because we didn't have stage clothes. We looked like Daryl, Joseph, and Jason that you went to school with, or that was your brother, that was your uncle, even if he was a white kid from California. He was like, I know somebody like that guy, Jam Master Jay. Man, I know somebody like that guy, Run, who has the attitude like that and runs his mouth. Man, I got a friend in my school or my college, or I had a friend in third grade, just like the quiet guy, Down McDaniels, that wears the glasses. So we was cross Run DMC. Besides our music, our appearance and demeanor was cross-culturally relatable.
Well said, man. D, you ready for some fan questions?
Yes, sir.
All right, Steve. Actually, I think I could tie two questions into one here. So Steve and Judy. Judy says, I want to know whose idea it was, DMC's or Steven Tyler's, to get together. And Steve says, how does he feel about resurrecting Aerosmith's career?
Well, Aerosmith themselves says our union did wonders for them, but vice versa, though. But at the time when we did the Walk This Way record, Aerosmith was already working on that album that they dropped right after that, with Angel and Do This Like a Lady. But commercially, see, we're going back to commercially, they could have spent a $30 million marketing plan, but from the artistic side, they were so far gone. Aerosmith, we don't want to hear him. My joke is, Aerosmith could have made a record with God, like actually made a record with God, and nobody would have cared. But because they were humble enough to come get with the hip-hop dudes that was slowly bubbling with this culture, it did great things for them, great things for us. So we let other people say, is it true that you brought Aerosmith back? No, they were on their way. We were just huge assistants. But it wasn't Run's idea, and it wasn't Steve's idea neither. It was Rick Rubin's idea to do the record. Originally, me and Run was going to sample the bass line and the guitars off of we didn't even know the song was Walk This Way. We just knew the album was Toys in the Attic and play number 4. That's all we would tell Jay. Yo, Jay, get Toys in the Attic album and play number 4 beat. I want to rhyme to that. So we was going to sample it and say our own rhymes on it. Me and Run was really good at talking about ourselves. But it was Rick Rubin who suggested, let's completely do a remake of that record, and not only remake it, let's do it with them. And that was a brilliant idea. So big shout out to Rick Rubin.
Nice. Joel says, ask him what he thinks of the new generation of hip-hop, and if he's heard about the Migos Joe Budden beef, and if he likes mumble rap at all.
I see all the beefs that's going around. First of all, I could never critique another person's creativity. They do what they do. But to categorize it and demean it, every generation has the music that is considered crappy. Now, I'm not just going to sit here and call the majority of the new hip-hop crappy. Let me just say this. When I view hip-hop, I don't view it from being a 53-year-old grown-ass man. I'm 53, but this hip-hop thing is my way of life. So when I sit down to view it, I'm still viewing it from when I was 12 to 22 years old. And I always got to tell kids, I didn't change the world when I was 50. I didn't change the world when I was 40. I didn't change the world when I was 30. I didn't change the world when I was 20. I was 18 years old when me, Run, and Jay did what we did. First to go gold, first to go platinum, and all of that. We were young people who had high expectations of our presentations of our creativity. That being said, today's hip-hop lacks innovation. It lacks creativity. But the main thing that it lacks is purpose. We were responsible young people who cared about our audience and the situations affecting our audience. Now, the whole thing with hip-hop is this: I want to make a record to get famous and get money. And that's all good. You can do that. But when there's a lack of responsibility, when there is a lack of holding up high standards, of what should be presented and when it should be presented, the music is going to end up stale and worthless. And that's the state of our music right now. It's worthless because we have no purpose. So, our music, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, Eric B. and Rakim, Public Enemy, you know what I'm saying, just to name a few. We were creative, we were innovative, and even if we did talk about negative things, we never glorified it. The whole thing about our street music and our socially conscious music was we would talk about jail and drug dealing. But the powerful thing about that, out the mouths of those individuals doing the records, we wasn't afraid to say drug dealing is wrong, gangbanging is wrong, killing each other is wrong. That's why our music was so powerful, because when we did hip-hop songs, we didn't just create rappers. We created school kids and journalists and kids going to get their GEDs and their high school diplomas, and kids proud to say, I made it into college and the university. Kids proud to say, I used to sell drugs and I used to gangbang. We knew not to disrespect our beautiful women. We knew not to use the N word and the B word and the whole word as a form of acceptance and showing our power. Nowadays, hip-hop and everything else in America itself, we use negativity as a false sense of power, when positivity and vision and togetherness can overcome anything that we're standing up against. So today's hip-hop is okay, but I'm 53 years old, and ain't nobody in this industry, past, present, or future, is going to come on stage and dominate anything that is positive, good, and educational, and motivational, and inspirational. That's why I'm a lethal weapon.
Neil has a sassy question for you here, D. Should sucker MCs still call you sire?
Yes, they do. They have to call me that for eternity.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Lindsay,
for sure.
Ask him if he still wears Adidas tracksuits.
I don't wear full. Well, I do wear Adidas tracksuits when I go to the gym, but nowadays I always wear the top of the Adidas tracksuit, the jacket. I still rock the jacket. I still rock Adidas, but I prefer a pair of black jeans on with it now.
Dave,
but we still Adidas till it down. That being said, we're putting out a full line of all the vintage Run DMC stuff in 2018.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna put out all of those categories, everything that was in the Run DMC catalog. We're teaming up with Adidas to re-release it.
Oh, fantastic! That's great. Okay, so Dave says, what was it like working with Pete Rock on the Down with the King track?
Pete Rock did for Run DMC what people say Run DMC did for Aerosmith will Walk This Way. When Pete Rock produced Down with the King for us, we were respected, but nobody cared. When Pete Rock and CL Smooth got on the record with us and we did that record together, that made us relevant again. It was one of the best hip-hop songs, if not the best one of the 90s, and it officially let people know that the old school is not a time period, but something that is eternal, something that can't be touched, but also something that is relatable no matter what generation we are in. So working with Pete Rock, he hates when I say this, he saved Run DMC career in 1993 because before they were calling us the Kings, but when we dropped Down with the King, everybody built us a throne for us to sit in.
Mike has a few interesting ones here. I don't even know if you're going to want to do this. He goes,
yeah, let's do it.
Dre or Eazy-E?
Dre or Eazy-E, neither. Chuck D and Flavor.
Snoop or Ice Cube?
Wow, Snoop or Ice Cube. I got to go with Ice Cube because one of the best albums in hip-hop ever made was America's Most Wanted. When Ice Cube left NWA, he went solo. And dig this, people. He left NWA, went solo, came to New York City, hooked up with Chuck D and the Bomb Squad, and they produced one of the greatest albums in hip-hop history. So since I'm a big fan of Chuck D and the Bomb Squad and that noise they bring, I got to go with Ice Cube. He's my man.
What did you think of the Straight Outta Compton movie? Really good. I just watched it a couple weeks back. Oh, dude, it's so good. So
I didn't see it. I heard it was really good.
Yeah. Now, is that something that maybe Run DMC would think of doing?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like when Biggie's movie came out, and then NWA's movie came out, and then they started talking about the Pac movie. Scarface from the Ghetto Boys, they had asked him something, and I said, he thinks exactly like me. He was like, oh, you think there'll ever be a Ghetto Boys biopic film? Scarface said, no, he wouldn't want to do one because that's biting. You know what I'm saying? For me, for me, what I want, when I'm doing with my story, as opposed to making a Run DMC, y'all know everything about us. I want to tell you stuff you don't know about the person. So I'm getting ready to bring my life story to Broadway. You know what I'm saying? I want you to know about the little kid Darryl. It's going to be like Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Or, you know, on Broadway, The Boy Who Became King. I want people to go, what the hell is that movie about? I want them to go, the play is about, I want them to go see the play, and they go, oh, shoot, this is about DMC, the third member of Run DMC. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't want to jump on that biopic bandwagon, because if you do a Run DMC pick, it can't just be a good movie about Run DMC. It's got to be one of the greatest movies in Hollywood history. Right. And I don't think any writer or director can accomplish that.
Back to Mike. He's got two more. NWA or Public Enemy?
Public Enemy all the way.
50 Cent or Eminem?
50 Cent or Eminem. Neither. Cool G rap.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can give us a career highlight, just one. Like, is there just one?
The greatest thing that ever happened to me was meeting Sarah McLachlan, because her music saved my life. I was an alcoholic, metaphysical, spiritual, suicidal wreck who was about to kill himself. And this was 1993. I heard Sarah McLachlan's record, Angel. And when I heard that record, Angel, that was the only thing that would kept me from jumping off roofs. For one whole year, all I did was listen to Sarah McLachlan records. I got the pleasure of meeting her by going to a party that I didn't want to go to, because my manager was like, let's keep Darryl busy. As long as we keep him busy, he won't kill himself. So my manager took me to Clive Davis Grammy party, and I got to meet Sarah McLachlan. And then 3 years after that meeting, I got to record a song with her. And just her music, her as a person, you know, I told her, the name of the record is Angel. You sound like an angel. People say you're an angel to me. You're an angel, but you're not an angel to me. You're God. Your music saved my life. And she looked at me and she said, thank you for telling me that, Darryl, because that's what music is supposed to do. And since that meeting, that is one of the first, that is one of the most prolific statements that is ingrained in me as an artist. That's what music is supposed to do. It's not about being rich and famous. It's about not being money. It's about touching and saving people's lives.
That's cool, man. Great story. What are your views on legalized marijuana?
I think they should legalize it because it's wrong, and all the legislatures and politicians, shut up, you're wrong, don't explain shit. And I don't mean to be profane, but I'm pissed off. Y'all motherfuckers done made fucking alcohol legal, but you can't make weed legal. And alcohol kills more people, way more people than weed does.
Well, I don't think they.
I was an alcoholic. I can't even drink alcohol. I can't even drink no more because alcohol is so destructive, and the abuse and overuse of it is destructive. Weed, you smoke some weed. The only thing that happens when, you know, my friends, I never liked weed because it made me think too much. But the only thing that's bad about weed is, you know, Run J, they used to smoke more weed than God could produce on the face of the earth, more than any Rastafari or Bob Marley could even smoke. And I noticed with weed smokers, they always lose their keys, they always lose their passports, they lose a lot of stuff and they forget stuff. But it's one of the most cool recreational intoxicants that you can use. So my points on this, they need to make the motherfucking shit legal. And the reason why they know this is because they want to control all the money coming out of it. So, but that being said, the same way you can walk in a liquor store and buy liquor or walk in a grocery store and buy beer, you should be able to walk in a store and buy weed.
Love Brad's question. He goes, what's the one thing that you're most proud of?
Being sober right now, being sober for 16 years. It's the most powerful thing I've ever did in my life.
Michelle, what are you binge watching?
What am I binge watching? I was binge watching. I'm a big Walking Dead fan, but what am I binge watching right now? Right now, I'm binge. I'm not binge watching nothing. I got two. No, I got more than two. I got to binge watch Daredevil. I got to binge watch Luke Cage. Those on Netflix, and everybody's telling me, "Yo, D, you're a big Walking Dead fan. You have to watch Game of Thrones." So what I'm getting ready to binge watch is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, dude, you got to watch that. So good.
Everybody's telling me, "Yo, D, you would love this."
Yeah, man, you're gonna love it.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the rest of 2017 looking like for you?
I'm getting ready to put out a new album called DMC, the LP, but the DMC stands for Dynamic Musical Collaborations. And on this new album, I'll be dropping one of the first singles will be me and a song I did with Joan Jett. And one of the next singles will be a song I did with Chuck D, a Public Enemy, and then one of the next singles is a song that I did with Sammy Hagar, and then one of the next singles is a song that I did with Tim Armstrong of Rancid. I also have a song with Rome from Sublime. I also have a song with the Lords of Brooklyn. I also have two songs with Freddie Fox, a.k.a. Bumpy Knuckles. Yesterday I just finished a brand new rock song with Grandmaster Caz of the legendary Cold Crush Brothers. But the most recent thing that's going to happen in November on Record Store Day, I'm putting out a 12-inch vinyl single with 4 songs on it. On that vinyl piece will be a song called Back from the Dead, which I did with my new band, Daryl's Music Company. It's a song on there called Flames, which is all about the shootings going on in America. That record is produced by John Moyer of Disturbed, and I did a duet with Miles Kennedy, the singer Miles Kennedy, one of the greatest voices in rock and roll.
Yeah, he's amazing.
On that record, on a vinyl piece, I'm putting the High and Low record, which is featuring Rome from Sublime with Chris Perez, who is from Selena's band and that family. And then the other record is Rome from Sublime. A record called Coming Like a Rhino with me and Chuck D, which is produced by a band out of Montreal called Slaves on Dope, which is my man Jason Rockman's band. So the first thing to give people an appetizer of what the new album is going to be, it's going to be a 4-song vinyl EP dropping in November.
Dude, amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Well, another song on there, we did a remake of the Black Betty song. Oh, Black Betty, which is, it's me, check this line out. Me, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, Travis Barker on drums, and Mick Mars from Motley Crue on guitar.
Wow.
I'm just waiting to get a bass player on it. We either going to get Sting or Flea or somebody. Yeah, this new album is the last 50 years of the best artists, writers, and musicians in rock, punk rock, indie rock, and hip-hop.
That's amazing.
And
November this comes out.
It's called Dynamic Musical Collaboration.
Wow. Well, hey, thank you, man, for, again, taking the time to jump on the podcast here in Vancouver.
No problem at all. I love Vancouver because Sarah McLachlan's from there.
That's right. That's right, yeah. And
I actually recorded the song that we did at our house.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she invited. She was like, no, I ain't coming to New York to work in some stupid studio. You can come to my house.
Nice.
So, yeah, well, it was a great experience. I love the city of Vancouver, and Canada rocks. Right
on. And you're at The King DMC on Twitter?
Yeah, my Twitter is at The King DMC, and my Instagram is King DMC. I always get the two mixed up.
All right. Well,
my Twitter is at The King DMC.
Right.
And my Instagram is King D. I always get them wrong. Right? Yep, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, and when the new music drops, I'll come back on and we can talk about the new song.
Subscribe on iTunes at Toddcast Podcast.